one, go.
Hello, hello. This is Ignacy and Portal Games.
And this is Stephen Hanukah, the Podfather of Gaming. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 221, and we are recording on December 31st, 2021, New Year's Eve. Woo! Maybe Matthew will put a sound effect in here. Board Games Insider is a proud member of the Dice Tower Network, and on behalf of the entire Board Games Insider family, which numbers in the tens of thousands since it includes each and every one of you listening today, Ignacy and I would like to wish you all the best for a healthy, happy, safe, and prosperous new year. And even Tom Vassell, who specifically is not part of the Dice Tower of the Board Games Insider family, since he doesn't listen to this incredibly important and excellent podcast, even if we do promote the Dice Tower Network on every episode. It's terrible. It's a travesty.
What about if we ask Matthew to prepare like a remix only of these intros and send it as a one MP3 file to Tom, so he'll be catching up at least with your intros?
I'm sure he would love the intros that I do, mentioning him. I did tell him once, well, he's listened to a few episodes. He's been on a couple of episodes, right? And I did tell him once that, he's the most mentioned person on our podcast. So,
Right after Asmodee.
That might be right. So, Ignacy, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas season, and we're rolling into the new year here. There's going to be so much stuff going on again in gaming this year. I'm so excited about it. Let's start small. Let's just say what is now happening at Portal Games. Probably a lot of quietness, maybe, but tell us all about it.
Yeah, many employees took days off. So for the most of the week, we had 30% of the staff working in the company. The rest of them stayed with their families, and the rest of them prepared for the upcoming year, as you just said. On January 3rd, everything starts again, and once again, as every single year, preparation for PortalCon, new releases, new marketing ideas, new preparations for the convention. So yeah, I'm still in the mood of debating and discussing the last year, what we achieved and was amazing, what were the problems, and so a summary of the year. In overall, I find 2021 quite successful for the Portal Games company. We released a couple of great games. We had two game found campaigns, very successful. There was a lot of stress with logistics. We were mentioning this for the whole year, but my team did an amazing job. I cannot express how I appreciate that. All the releases made the terms, so it was released for Essen or for Gen Con, we had no delays, even though it was very, very stressful. Dune released, Robinson Crusoe had millions of dollars on game fund. So overall, lots of stress, but a successful year for us. So I'm very, very happy and looking forward for upcoming 2022. We have a great games scheduled for this upcoming year. We have, we hope for the convention season opening more and more, because we saw it in 2021 that it is slowly opening, and now these shows will be bigger and more often. So we are preparing for that. Hopefully some of the logistics problems will vanish, or at least be smaller. So as I said, a slow week here at Portal Games, but preparing and recharging for the next year. For my pre-orders at Street Days, I want to make fun of you guys once again. You just missed another holiday sale, because we were not recording for the 1 week with Steven. And if you are checking Portal Games website regularly, portalgamesus.com, you will learn about our sale. We had a Portal Games digital holiday sale with our apps. When you are listening to this, it's too late. Remember to visit Portal Games website at least once a week to see all the news and all the new releases. And what I'm doing, I'm sitting at home, but working this week. I was mostly at home, but doing home office and doing design work. Dune, the sequel for the Dune, the second part of the trilogy, is well advanced, and we are preparing for the whole amazing playtesting marathon in January. So very happy with that. It looks like a busy time. It was slow, but things were happening here at Portal Games. And if I can invite you to my YouTube channel, as always, from the videos we posted for the past 2 weeks, the most views, which I understand it is most interesting for you guys, was the video with the topic, how much you as a publisher pay to get positive review. Many of you wanted to know what's the price to buy the reviewer. So check out the video and see the numbers.
Awesome. Awesome sauce. So over here at the Podfather of Gaming, doing a lot of gaming, which is just wonderful. And in fact,
I saw mostly pictures of your amazing car and some racing. Most of your Facebook was that. We're
getting to that. I have an order of things here. I have show notes. I don't know about you have show notes too. But tonight, New Year's Eve, I always call it like amateur night. I don't usually go out on New Year's Eve, and if I do, I certainly don't drive too far because it's just too dangerous. Too many people out there. So Paul and I are going to spend an evening alone, and we're going to be doing gaming, probably starting right after dinner for the entire night and up until midnight. I don't know what we're doing yet. She's promised to learn a couple of things. I got to go down there and pick some things. So more gaming for the Podfather is going to be one of my resolutions, but we certainly have been doing a lot on remodeling. Ignacy, you'll be very happy to hear that all kinds of setbacks going on here. But the first good news is that the main floor is 100% done. Literally everything done. It looks amazing. We're just waiting for some furniture to come in. My game table, I can't wait to get my game table from GameTheoryTables.com, which is maybe the best game table out there, at least most beautiful, modern looking one. That's every beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I get no money from them, but I like to plug them. The table is amazing. On the second floor, the bathroom, everything is going wrong. Everything is going wrong. Cabinets in the master bath are in, but they weren't cut correctly. So they all have to go back. All of the doors on the cabinets all have to be replaced.
Doors again? What the hell?
The doors on the cabinets. The drawers were okay, but the doors on the cabinets, not the doors to the bathroom. Those I'm waiting for too. Those I have 6 more weeks to wait for. Don't even start. The mirrors, the mirrors for the vanity, where you put your shave and you put your makeup on. One of the mirrors was broken. Had a fight with the people who sent them, and we didn't even know because they stayed in the boxes for like weeks waiting to be installed. But they did say as of like yesterday evening, they're sending a new one. The countertops, they only fabricated half the countertop. So now they have to fabricate the second. And of course, they're not working now. So that's not going to happen until next week. It never ends. But more on the good news side, my outdoor kitchen is completed now. So that looks amazing. The grilling will begin very soon. I cannot wait to have my first party, which I can basically now do because if the downstairs is done and my outside is done, party at the Podfather.
You just cut off the whole upstairs and you leave it just downside, and you're gonna be fine. So that's what's happening there. I'm gonna have a rant, Ignacy. I think it's time. I haven't had a Bonacore rant for a while, and with COVID, Omicron is on the rise. It's just time for me to yell at a few people out there. And I think this is only for a small-ish amount, but really get vaccinated, you filthy animals. It's just so important. I guess I'm going to say it. I'm going to say bad things. I mean, if you're so dumb as to not listen to medical professionals, especially the world's foremost body on infectious diseases, the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, exactly what's happening right now, then just stop listening to me. Just go away. I'm really angry about the whole thing, that now the world is going to get thrown into more turmoil because of so many uninfected people, so many unvaccinated people that are getting infections. Now, yes, vaccinated people will get them too, but they won't be as susceptible. They won't be going to hospitals. We won't flood hospitals. Please, for the love of God, get vaccinated and then take all the precautions, everybody. I just want to see people healthy, and I want this to go away so we can get together at conventions and get together at my house, and Ignacy can come over here from Poland and all kinds of things. Please, please.
and get your friends vaccinated too. The ones that aren't doing it, get them vaccinated, man. All right. On to my
I would just comment very short, because I'm stopping myself of saying anything, because I know that I will say something, it will be like super bad. My opinion about people who are not vaccinated, I combine my opinion about the monopoly, Asmodee, GAMA, and all this combined. I have a very bad opinion about these people, and I really don't want to go further, because I will say words that I will be quoted on probably most of the Reddits. I'm really in a very bad mood about those people.
Right. And Ignacy's going to do it that way. And I'm going to say, you may quote me saying, get vaccinated, you filthy animals. And if you don't listen to me anymore. Just exercise me from your life. See, I can be that way because I don't work. So going on to my trips, we'll make it quick. I had an unbelievable trip to Las Vegas where I did zero gambling. It was my third. It should have been my fourth, but one of them was canceled early in 2021. My third trip to Las Vegas, and this one was to go for a 2-day driving course at the Ron Fellows Performance Driving School. I drove their new Corvettes on a closed race course. I learned how to configure the vet for maximum performance because it's got all of these configurations. We did the skid pad. You know, that's where you drive it like a figure eight, and you learn how hard you can drive it on a wet surface, and how to recover from sliding when the car is wet, how to turn it into like weather mode so you won't even slide if you tried to slide. The amazing types of things that this car can do. We were on a serpentine course where you're making really tight, quick turns and trying to see how fast you can do it. We did 0 to 60 launching. You just go, how fast can you do 0 to 60, where the car is spec'd to do it under 3 seconds. I did not do it that fast because I'm just not that good. There's a little bit of a wet day that day, so the cars were sliding just a little bit anyway, so nobody can get it to 2.9 seconds. And then the closed driving course was just amazing. So overall, I was really bad at it compared to some of the other people that were doing it. I just want to say it. I'm not going to become a race car driver now. I mean, it's nerve-wracking. It's scary to do it. And it's so mental about how you have to do it. You have to accelerate hard, hit the brake at a certain point, then immediately start. And then right after that, you start the turn, and you have to hit the apex point of the curve and then unwind. There was so many interesting little things you had to do there. I found it fascinating. I'm going to be a better street driver for it, but I learned all of the things about my car, which is just wonderful. Fantastic. The last thing I want to mention about Vegas, there's this place called Area 15 in Las Vegas. It's just a couple miles out. And it's run by this company called Meow Wolf, really weird name. And they have in there this thing called Omega Mart, which on the surface looks like this very weird grocery store, but it's not. It's an attraction that you go into. You can't buy the cans of this weird stuff that they're selling. And you unfold a storyline, which I can't talk to you about because I would be giving it away. It's sort of like a 3-hour escape room, I guess you can say.
Okay.
You can just walk through the thing and just look at crazy things that are going on, but there's secret passages and there's literally a storyline that, well, who's behind Omega Mart and what's going on, and what kind of forces are involved? It's crazy. So all I'm going to say is, oh gosh, I forgot the name of the company now that's behind the whole thing. Oh, I forgot it now. I lost it, but it was a great experience. So if you're ever there, and if you ever can experience any of the Meow Wolf centers, that there's other ones across the country, check it out. But the one called Omega Mart in Area 15 in Vegas is amazing. And with that, let's get over to the event deck. So we do have a lot of news here. I'm not sure how much we can get to. But of course, Asmodee is in our news in a big way. The first thing,
they got busy at the end of the year, right?
They got real busy. We reported just recently about their being resold. It's a better way of almost saying sold to another even larger venture capital firm called Embracer Group out of Sweden, of all places. And now they have disclosed some of their price, sales, profits, and moves that they're making into retail. Here's what was found out, especially looking at the videos and stuff. And I'm using ICV2 because I did not look at every portion of that video. It went on for hours, that presentation that they were making. Embracer Group, which announced a deal to acquire Asmodee last week, revealed more information about the acquisition and Asmodee in conjunction with a presentation to analysts. The biggest news was the surprisingly high price paid for Asmodee. We know this, 2.75 billion euro or 3.11 billion US dollars. That's more than double the 1.4 billion paid by in dollars by owners PAI Partners just 3 years ago. The price jumped in tandem with increases in Asmodee sales. At the time of the 2008 acquisition, Asmodee sales were around 514 million US dollars. This year, Asmodee sales are expected to reach $1.27 billion with net earnings before interest and taxes. So this is net profit, essentially, of 229 million US dollars. It's been a great year for games, and Asmodee's sales and profits reflect that. The release and presentation also revealed some information on the strategy for Asmodee going forward. Explaining its Asmodee 3.0 strategy, the company noted its expansions into retail with acquisitions of French retailer Philibert and U.S. online retailer Miniature Market, right? Basically the largest, Amazon company. Miniature Market, the largest for hobby games out there. They bought them. And that was never disclosed until that video came up, which was an amazing little thing that happened there. Embracer also touted Asmodee as a proven platform for value accretive M&A. Love those business terms. Complemented by a sizable funnel for future opportunities within board games, trading card games, and collectibles. Asmodee clearly plans to continue acquiring other companies under its new ownership and has a pipeline of deals that it's developing. So this is pretty awesome information.
Yeah, there's one more thing that is maybe not everyone knows, and I can add it here from the Poland. Asmodee also owns the biggest Polish online retailer, that is Rebel Games. Rebel Games, before they became publisher, many of you know Rebel Games as a publisher. They at the very beginning were online store, and they continue to be online store, and they are the biggest online store for hobby games in Poland, and Asmodee owns them. So Asmodee owns the biggest online retailers in Poland, in France, in America. You can guess my comment on that.
Actually, I didn't know that Rebel was so big in retail. I knew obviously they are a publisher and a distributor.
I opened the first online store in Poland back then, 2004 or 5, I don't remember, many years ago. And then Rebel was founded, and I closed my store and I moved to the publishing, and they were the only online store for years in Poland. And now they are the biggest one.
Very interesting. So more on Asmodee, they plan to increase prices. Their MSRPs are going up across all channels effective on February 21st, 2022. This is the second time in under 6 months that they're announcing price hikes. The previous increase were a result of raw material and transportation costs over the course of 2021. These new price increases to cost and MSRP of certain products are meant to ensure Asmodee USA can continue to offer quality service and to their retail client via distribution, sales, and marketing, the company said. The titles impacted by the price increases are from the following Asmodee studios: Catan, Days of Wonder, Edge, Fantasy Flight Games, Libellude, Lookout Games, Mixlore, Oi Marketoy, Pearl Games, Repo, Space Cowboy, Z-Man, and Zygomatic. So basically everybody. I mean, I don't know there's no major brand there that I can tell that they're not raising prices on. So that does mean, guys, that if you want one of their games, yeah, I'm sure the price increases, and they don't mention how much. But if you were thinking about getting something, save the extra 5%, 10%, who knows what they're going to be increasing it by, and buy it now. Fair enough, Ignacy?
Yeah, I mean, as we always say, at this point, Asmodee has so big position that they can do it, and probably some gamers will complain on Reddit or on forums. It will nothing change. They will sell tons of Catans, tons of Ticket to Ride,
Sure.
and they will do it to get the profit. And always the right price is the price the customer wants to pay. And for games like Catan or Ticket to Ride, these are so amazing games, customers will buy them anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, what is the right price for something? It's the price that the market is willing to bear. It's as simple as that. I mean, everyone wants to buy something for very close to zero and save money, but if the market will bear X, that's where the price will move up toward, and other people will keep their prices where they are, or they'll move up there. So the market is self-correcting. That's the way free markets work. So more in the Asmodee space, sort of, but not. Embracer Group, right? These are the new owners of Asmodee. They have acquired Dark Horse Comics. So Sweden-based video game company Embracer Group AB has entered into an agreement to acquire publisher and entertainment company Dark Horse Media, the company's announced. The announcement comes just days after Embracer announced it was acquiring game publisher, distributor, and retailer Asmodee for over $3 billion. Dark Horse has hired an investment bank to evaluate alternatives. So very interesting. Again, this is, I'm going to not read the rest of this. This is very detailed. And of course, Dark Horse Comics is not part of what we do as part of our core business. But Embracer Group is basically becoming the largest geek culture company out there now. That is fully diversified into many geek things, like Marvel is much bigger, of course. But if you think about it, right, they've got one thing. They've got all of their Marvel stuff. But Embracer now has got all these video companies. They've got Asmodee, which is all the tiers of hobby game distribution. They've got I think Dark Horse is probably the fourth biggest comic book company in the world, give or take, third, fourth, something like that. So I think this is going to be great, because we're going to now see these interesting IP crossovers, right? You're going to see board games based on Dark Horse IPs. We're going to see video games based on Dark Horse IPs. The video game IP will come into Asmodee's fold as a board game. All very interesting moves that can happen now. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, because you don't compete with them anymore.
You don't compete now. You work with them.
And I have to. Yeah, Dark Horse is a publisher of one of my beloved comic book, that is Hellboy. And
right.
This is a fun stuff, because a couple of months ago we reported with Steven that Asmodee bought Hellboy, the board game, and now their owner said, "Okay, we buy the whole thing," and they just bought the whole Dark Horse comic, so they have a Hellboy and everything else. But yes, you're absolutely right. For me as a geek, for me as a gamer, is a great moment. It's as you just said, I will have a chance to play video game Hellboy at some point, for sure. We will have a chance to play board game about the Metro video game. So for us geeks, it's amazing time. For me as a publisher, I always say for the past few years, it is getting tougher and tougher to compete with this hegemon. But we will not surrender. We will compete.
They will. You will. Everybody will. So this is something that's got a timeliness to it. So I wanted to make sure we got to it on the first show that we could. GAMA has opened up the Power Retail Award nominations for 2022. So any retailers out there that are listening to us, or anyone who has a very good association, they go to their friendly local game store all the time. They know the manager, maybe the owner of the store. Tell them about this. Let me read it. The Game Manufacturers Association, GAMA, opened up their nominations for the 2022 Power Retail Awards, which will be announced in March of 2022. The Power Retail Awards honor the best in retail innovation and creativity every year. The awards handed out are as follows: the Outstanding Contribution to Games Retail Award, the Innovation in Games Retail Award, Outstanding Store Design Award, and the Retailer of the Year. Last year, the awards were announced online due to the COVID-19 pandemic. A highlight of last year's awards can be seen on their website. So if if you're associated in any way, like you just are one of the big people that go to your retailer and they've got a great store. Obviously, if they don't have a great store, they're not going to win, but you can have them, you can nominate them or they can nominate themselves for one of these awards. And I think that's great recognition for your local game store if they're doing a good job.
And this is interesting. We mentioned this a couple of times already. Like a local game store from Dallas and local game store from Seattle and local game store from Washington, they are not competing with each other because they're in different locations and they don't compete. So this is a perfect way for them to cooperate, to exchange ideas, to see this best retailer, how the games are set up, how the customer is handled, what are the best policies to sell games. So I'm super pro of ideas like that. So giving the hours, showing the best solutions and cooperating between stores, because in different cities, they are not cooperating. So they are not competing. So they should cooperate and exchange the best ideas.
Excellent. And so you approve of GAMA's work here. Good. I'm glad to hear that you approve of
the direction is okay. Yeah.
Ignacy is making me move on. We do have a great story that we're going to pick up for hopefully for next week about GameFound and what they're doing, but we'll have to pick up on next time. Let's get over to strategy and tactics. So our first question is from James Burns. He's at J-Train1, and he says, Ignacy, when another company licenses your games for localization, do you have the final say on the graphic design and translation? Do you?
So for translations, of course, I have no clue how these games are translated. I keep my fingers crossed, but I don't speak Korean. I don't speak Spanish. So here I have to put trust in the local publisher. For the graphic design, basically, they are not allowed to change anything. They get the InDesign files, they just put their own text, but they don't change the graphic. There are some cases when the local publisher says, we would like to change a bit because of that. And then they have to ask us. And if we agree, we give them access to these files so they can change the things. The most important change in my games was by Pegasus Spiele for German edition of Imperial Settlers. They redo the whole layout of the card. So Imperial Settlers is a card game, so the layout of the card is pretty important. And they had a different idea for the layout, and they changed it. And they asked us for the agreement, and we said, okay, do it. So for all of you who are browsing Board Game Geek and see cards from German edition, you may be surprised. They look quite different from all other editions. So yes, if I have reasonable arguments from the local publisher, I say yes, but it is not a common practice.
Very good. Don Lyles, who's at DA Lyles, he said, it's not a question, but finally listened to episode 158, the one about Robinson Crusoe. And I think Stephen is in a small group of not read Robinson Crusoe. I read it in high school and then twice in college, but then I was an English literature major. Now that you're retired, Stephen, I recommend you read it. Don, I should. I shall take it under advisement. I hear it is a great work of literature.
So I have a question, because we are from different countries and it is always fun to find some differences between our countries. So here in Poland, we have a mandatory reading when you're in school. So you have the list of books that you have to read on different levels. And one of them is Robinson Crusoe, or at least it was when I was in a school. In America, you also have some mandatory reading at school?
Yeah. School systems are mandated or are directed by on the state level. So what one state does, another state might not do, but essentially, yes, everybody has a reading list. Like, okay, if you're in high school, right, that's grades 9 through 12, these are the books that they want you to read. And then they, you classify it by how hard it is to read. So in 9th grade, you should read these. In 10th grade, So yes, so in general, that's the case. Similar thing.
It will be interesting to compare. Probably somebody did it. The different novels that the different countries in France or in Spanish or in German in America, which novels are taken?
As far as I know, I never had to read. Who knows at this point? I might have forgotten. But did you read Catcher in the Rye, for instance? That was a very big thing that everyone had to read. It was kind of controversial. The main character is young and he curses a lot, and I don't know, things like that, as I recall. But that was a big one that everyone had to read. Anyway, we're going to get into an English literature lesson here or something like that. Vincenzo Alvarello, who's a good friend of mine, used to be in New Jersey. Now he lives in the frozen state of Minnesota. He's at Zacko Soldier. Since I've been in shutdown and can't or won't play games inside with people, I've found my tabletop outlet with online games and websites that the standalone applications often have good tutorials to teach the game. Some games have done things like this, Root, Fog of Love, Fast Forward series, but should this move forward becoming a standard feature of games, or is it too much work for not enough usage? So he's asking if so to have more tutorials to teach games online. I think that's what his main thing here is. Ignacy, do you think that we as an industry will have more of that, or do we leave most of that to the third party, to the content creators, the Rodney Smiths and people like that who love to do teaching of games, and they do such a great job of them?
Yeah, we see industry trying a different solution. So Rodney Smith and Watch It Played is absolutely amazing, and many publishers want to work with him. Of course, he has only 365 days in a year to record these videos, so not everybody can have a video from Rodney Smith. So there is other content creators who does the same thing. Then you have the mentioned the last episode app called Diced, and that has the tutorials in the app, so you can download the app Diced and learn how to play Robinson Crusoe. And then you have solutions like, for instance, games from GMT Games, the war games. They have a special part of the rulebook called Playbook, in which they write down the whole game of their war game. So, for example, you have 12 pages of step-by-step explain how to play the game. I never read it. It's too long for me. So everyone tries something different, and I don't see that we already have this final solution. And I guess the big players like Asmodee at some point will have this amazing solution, and they will figure out how to help. As you guys remember, 2 years ago, I tried with Alexa. We did Alexa skill for Monolith Arena. It worked well, but Monolith Arena was not a popular game, so we didn't see the impact of this solution. So I'm seeing different solutions, and none of them is perfect yet.
So we'll see how that folds out over time. Kevin Wardner, who's at Jerkules, I love that one. He asks me, hearing you mention WBC, now that Steven's a free agent, not necessarily tied to going to the major cons for business purposes, will he be returning to the WBC for fun? Yes, Kevin, I will. I'm going to the WBC in 2022, assuming it runs, etc., at the same time of year, which I think it is. I will be there. We'll play a game. Andres Slizens, who's at GT99, he asks, there were recently discussions about second editions. I have a question about it. How much more compared to a reprint in percentages does it cost to make a second edition for a generic game? For example, Mysterium, Flamme Rouge. Calling China and ordering 5,000 copies of an existing game reprint versus making a new design, new rules, retooling, factory, etc., and printing 5,000 copies of a second edition? Or do you order a bigger print run for a new version of the game? Do you have any expectations about what percentage of old edition owners will buy a new edition? So this is it's kind of a complex question. So when you have a game that continues to sell, do you just keep reprinting, which is great, money, right? Money. It helps the whole company to simply do it, or do you change things to create a second edition and hope that the old buyers buy this? You gain new market, you fix things sometimes. Ignacy, what's your view on when to do a second edition versus simply reprinting?
Yeah, you see it very clearly in the numbers. When you release the game, there's a peak of the sales, and then the sales go down. And if you have not a big seller, it will die out after 18 months. If you have a game like Detective or Robinson Crusoe, it sells over and over, but still slower and slower. So at some point, you have to generate a new buzz, new energy around the title, and you start to debate a new edition. For some titles, it takes 2, 3, 4 years. For some games, it takes 10 years. You can see very easily, especially with Asmodee, all these anniversary editions, 5 years anniversary, 10 years anniversary, and there's a new buzz, new cover. Publishers in these situations tend to change the artwork on the cover, change a little bit of the components, because as you guys see in the industry, every 3 years, we have so much increase of the component quality in the games that the game that was amazingly looking 5 years ago now is just an average, and in 3 years will be just meh. So you have to update the components. So updating a little bit of the artwork, updating a little bit of the components, and mentioned here the new rules. It is not always a case of the new rules, but it is a case of having a feedback of thousands of players who complain or praise the title on Board Game Geek, and you just browse to the Board Game Geek forums, you just browse to the feedback from the players, and you fix few things to make it better and better and better. So for us, for instance, many times mentioned here in the podcast, Neuroshima Hex. At this point, there is a third edition of the game on the market, because the game is on the market for 15 years already. This year, we did the Robinson Crusoe Collector's Edition. The game is on the market since 2012. There was the first edition, there was the second edition, and then there was the Collector's Edition. So every couple of years, you want to refresh the title in terms of the components, artwork, and giving it new buzz, new hype. So yes, it is a much more complex. It is much more expensive. Just hitting the button, reprint, and it doesn't cost any work. With new edition, there's a work involved with the developers, translators, editors, illustrators. So it is not the cost of making a new game, but it is significant cost.
Absolutely. This is a very interesting one, and it's from Richard Trout. He's at Norkel. A local Australian podcast recently called out Portal Games for the packaging of its Empires of the North Barbarian Hordes expansion. The expansion is a deck of cards and rules leaflet, yet in packaging that is much larger and could sustain perhaps 6 decks of cards. Okay. Ignacy provided a short answer that customers buy with their eyes. Very true. So my question is bigger better true when selling games? If true, how big is big enough? Also, are there any markets that disprove bigger is better, where customers clearly demand sufficient packaging? Long-time listener, first-time caller. Good to know from Stephen's reports that retirement doesn't mean you need to slow down. That is right, Richard. I am not slowing down at all. So, Ignacy, it's a great question, and let me start by saying, if your expansion is literally a deck of cards, putting it in a card box like a playing card box, you are not going to sell that. And everybody's got to understand it's going to be a terrible selling thing, because retailers, it's going to hide on a shelf. People are not going to, they're going to like look at this little thing and they're not going to be happy. So you got to put it in something that has a presentation. You're not going to put it in a Ticket to Ride size box, the size of the original game, but you're going to put it in something that can have some presence on the shelf in a store or shelf in your house if you keep the box. What do you think about that?
I mentioned a couple of times in different interviews, we had this case in Poland, and this is an amazing case. Polish publisher GAMA published the game Hey, That's My Fish. I guess you remember this old
great
FLG
game,
title.
Fantastic game back in the day.
Super mean and nasty
Yes.
game. And they released this game, Hey, That's My Fish, and it was selling so-so. GAMA is a publisher and a manufacturer at the same time. So they took the rest of the print run, repackaged in a bigger box, and put back in the market. The game starts selling. This is the fact. This happened here in Poland, because the customer, when they go to the Target, if they go to the Walmart, if they go to the local game store, they approach the shelf, they see the game for $30, and they see small box and big box, and they buy the big box. This is, you are buying with the eyes. This is proven. It is always true. It looks more epic, more awesome. And these small boxes always look like, I don't know, $30 for some small box. Like, you want big box because you paid $50. It's a fact. It was tested here in Poland, and you can double check all the psychologists what they say. We buy with eyes. And
what's really good about this entire thing, when you have a bigger box, it's all recyclable, right? I mean, that's a good thing, you know. So if the complaint is, well, packaging is bad and stuff like that, well, remember, cardboard is one of the things that you can just take it, You put it in your recycling bin, and it's going to go not into the trash heap. It's going to go and become new cardboard later on. So that's a good thing. But yeah, we got it. That's the way we buy. It's simple psychology. So that's probably not going to change. Meanwhile, let's talk about playtesting. So, Ignacy, last week we had a question from you, which was very interesting because you posted it before Christmas, right? And we told people not to answer it until Christmas was over. And you said, what did you get for Christmas? What games did you get, or other cool non-game stuff? We got a whole bunch of answers. Do you want to go first, or do I read some answers first?
I found two questions, the two answers that are most interesting for me, so I can try with my awesome English to read them. Matthew showed the pictures, which I appreciate. Matthew says, my spouse and kids surprised me with this amazing storage trunk for Eldritch Horror and all of its expansions. And he showed the pictures, and it looks absolutely amazing. I thought at the very beginning it is a suitcase for the Arkham Horror, because I keep my Arkham Horror LCG in a suitcase like that. It is Eldritch Horror, so quite close. That is a great people around you giving you such a gift.
Yeah,
so
I saw his original post of it that he put someplace else. And by the way, did you mention this is Matthew Octavian? Right? He's an awesome guy. Love him. He's the Board Game Geek community manager. This looks so beautiful. Anybody listening to this should go over and check out the Playtesting 220 link, and he shows what this box is that he takes all of Eldritch Horror and he puts it in there, and it looks like just a tome. It's gorgeous.
And my second pick is from Kirk W, the core set maker, and he said, I received a joint gift with my 5-year-old daughter of Catan Junior. And she loves it and totally gets it, and this is amazing stuff. Because he get the gift to play with his daughter, and I find it super cute and super amazing. And I remember myself playing with my daughter as well. Now she's 14, and she's in the age that she doesn't want to do anything with her daddy because she's a teenager. But I remember my time with my daughter playing. So Kirk, all the best to your family, all the best to you and to your daughter, and play Catan Junior and have a great time. Great gift.
Very cool. I'm going to mention Sarah Reed, and she, by the way, she's a watcher on the YouTube version of this. I know that because she posts comments in there. Thank you so much, Sarah, for watching us. And she says, can I mention what I got for Hanukkah? And I apologize, Sarah, that we always said Christmas because of the date is the same all the time. But yes, of course, Hanukkah gifts, they qualify. She says, my husband gave me a meeple beanie and 2 geeky wooden spoons with one meeple and one with a D20. Very cool. And she posted a link to what it looked like. My sister gave me Back to the Future, Back in Time, and Adventure Games, monochromatic ink. My parents gave me a fairy calendar and a Black Widow Blu-ray, and that's really cool. I mean, that's a bunch of nice, really cool stuff. Christine McCullough, she's Woogies, and she's a good friend, and she posted, Happy New Year's, everybody. I got 2 games from the BGG Secret Santa, which is a good plug for the BGG Secret Santa that goes on every year. It's a lot of fun, that thing, where you know, people will pull stuff out of your want list, and you get somebody random, and then you can ship something, and somebody else ships something to you. It's a really cool thing to do. If you check that out at some point. She got the Ticket to Ride Map Collection Volume 6, France and the Old West. Ticket to Ride Map Collection Volume 7, Japan and Italy. And non-gaming, she got a cordless drill. Woohoo! Go do some stuff in the house. Go fix some things. And then she got a bunch of trinkets, and she got her annual Hallmark tractor ornament and an octopus ornament from Hallmark. So really cool stuff all around. Bunch of game stuff and non-game stuff. Thanks everybody for sharing all of that information that you did. And now for our question, a new question of the week. This is one of my questions, and this is something that we've been talking about on and off over the years, especially recently. I keep seeing this online. And my question to all of you out there, do you keep game stats? And if so, what items do you keep track of? Like who won like what game, of course, who won the game, who played the game with you, what were the scores in the game. I've seen people do different things. And where do you keep track of these things? So Ignacy, do you keep track of any of this stuff?
I started a couple of years ago. Now I'm using BG Stats, the app, and yes, I do. And it helps me a lot to prepare for all the podcast stuff that I need. So my top 10 games I played last month, top 10 games I played this year. So it helps me to, to create content for my vlog here in Poland, for my podcast. So yes, I do it.
I can see that as being an interesting reason, right? Because then you'll remember what you're going to put up and the content. I don't do that. And my answer to this question is 0 times. I have never kept track of anything. Now, in my head, I remember how many times I beat my good buddy Chad at War of the Ring because I crush him all the time. No, I don't really. But I keep the memories, of the really epic things gaming wise. But I've never kept track like physically. And I see people do it, in the app, and I hear BG Stats is the big app to do it in. But I see people with little notebooks. They just keep a little notebook with them. And my buddy Larry used to open up the notebook, write down the game, who played the game, what everybody's scores were, what date it was. So it's just an interesting little psychological thing. What do you guys do? So we're asking you this question. Do you keep stats? If so, what do you keep stats of? Tell us all about this, Ignacy, right? Oh, Ignacy, you're holding something up. What are you doing there?
Yeah, I want you guys to invite you. I want you to invite you for YouTube because you mentioned the book. So back then, many years ago, I ran a gaming club in my city, and I kept notes about every game played in the club with the comments: who played, who won, what was the feedback of the group about the game. So I can write now April 28th, year 2008. Wow. And we played Umurum und Eire, this is Feld, Euphrat and Tigris, this is Knizia, Blocus,
great game,
Pompeii, Crokinole. And so I kept it as a chronicle of my gaming club. And I found it a couple of weeks ago in the old boxes. And it is so funny to see actual games we played 2008. Man, this is like a decade ago.
That's amazing.
And who won, and like all the repos, what we liked about the games. Like I was a chronicle.
That's a big book too. You were bringing around with you. It's like A4 size or something like that.
That was epic diary of our gaming club, and accidentally I have it on my desk because I found it a couple of days ago.
It's a beautiful binder. You have it in there, it's like bound.
Hardcover. It's a hardcover. Yeah.
So there's another good reason. Hardcover book that Ignacy kept all of his gaming club stuff. Go check it out on YouTube. You can watch him holding it up there. It was really cool, and your handwriting looks really good. I mean, that's amazing. Why not?
I was official chronicle. It had to be beautiful.
So right now, Ignacy is going to create a thread on BGG so that you can post your answers to our question here for playtesting. And while he's doing that, I'm going to get to our final scoring. Thank you so much for listening and watching us. Help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they get their podcasts, or watch us on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. To ask us questions for our strategy and tactics segment, you must post them in the correct thread in our Guild on Board Game Geek. And to answer our question to you from our playtesting segment, also go to our Guild on Board Game Geek, look for the thread with this episode's question. 221 is the episode. Board Games Insider has a Facebook page, so please like us on Facebook. Also on Facebook, please like Ignacy's page and Steven's page, which is /Portal Games US and /Podfather Gaming. Our website's portalgamesus.com. Ignacy's always got sales and things going on. Check them out. Or podfathergaming.com. Go there, sign up for the newsletters, and get up-to-the-minute information on what's happening at Portal Games and with the Podfather. On social media, talk directly to Ignacy and Steven. On Twitter, it's @PortalGamesUS and @Podfather Gaming. Same on Instagram. And the YouTube channels are Portal Games Movies, Portal Games Gameplays, and the Podfather of Gaming. On TikTok, watch Ignacy dance at Portal Games US. We hope to see you at a convention in 2022 when we're all there, hanging out, enjoying ourselves, vaccinated, safe. Go do your thing, everybody. Board Games Insider is professionally edited by Matthew Jude from This Game is Broken podcast. And if you'd like him to edit your podcast, please contact him on Twitter or email at thisgameisbrokenpodcast@gmail.com. Also, that great voice you hear doing our intro, outro, and in-between segments is that of Ray Greenlee. He can be contacted to do your voiceover work at raygreenleevoiceover.com. So, Ignacy, anything special? I did write something here. I don't want to say it if we can't commit. Can we commit to doing?
Yes.
Our annual predictions episode will happen the next episode. Ignacy, make your 5 predictions, 4 serious ones and 1 stupid one, usually what we do. And we'll review the predictions we made in 2021 first, and then we'll make our new 2022 predictions. I love this episode. People go crazy for this episode every year, and we'll score it. I believe last year you won for the first time. I've been beating you year after year. We'll find out. We'll find out what happened. I hope I beat you this year. We'll see.
Thank you for today.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll see you for an epic episode next time. Bye, all.